Hello, and welcome to Facebook Live. This is Camille Hicks with C. Hicks Agency, and I'm here with Mr. Steve Silver. He's a gemologist with Jewelry Appraisal Services. And today I am actually, this whole month, I'm doing kind of a spring cleaning series. And we look at spring cleaning, we start looking around our house and maybe doing the floors or dusting a little bit. But I think this is a great time to really focus in on doing some cleaning some other areas of our life and organizing some things. And one of the biggest things that's most valuable to us, to a lot of people, is their jewelry. So what I want to do talk about today is a little bit about um, getting an appraisal, knowing how much jewelry you have or what it's worth, and how it impacts your insurance policy, and also how to go about updating that appraisal as you go along throughout the years as well. So I want to welcome Mr. Steve Silver.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here with me. And again, I see all of you joining right now. Thank you for joining. I am Camille Hicks with the Hicks Agency. And while people are joining, I'm going to let Mr. Steve Silver tell us a little bit about himself and what he does.
Well, I have a business and marketing degree and advertising degree from the University of Texas. I then ran my family's jewelry business from 1978 to 1994. 1994, I created Jewelry Appraisal Services, where we sit right now. We are in the business of writing jewelry appraisals, not only for insurance purposes, but for estate purposes,
Okay.
and also for liquidation purposes. We do a lot of business with, obviously, referrals from retail stores,
Okay.
from insurance agents such as yourself, from CPA firms, from banks. We do pretty much appraisals for anything and everything.
Wow. So, and we're going to jump into that. There are several things you said that I want to go into detail a little bit more. I first want to talk about what's actually covered insurance, since that's what I do. I am an insurance broker, and my job is to make sure that I'm protecting my clients' assets and everything that's important to you. So I want to talk about a little bit about what's covered on your insurance policy, and then we're going to talk about the appraisal process and why it's so important. So a lot of people don't realize that jewelry is covered on most policies, but it's typically covered up to a certain limit, which is around $1,500. So, and that's not per piece of jewelry.
Total.
That is total. And so people don't realize that the average engagement ring is at least 6,000. So
be.
yeah, well, depending on what kind of engagement ring.
Yeah. I think it's important to realize too that if all of your jewelry is stolen, whatever, and it has to be stolen out of the house. So if you have a ring that you're wearing and something happens, it disappears or it's damaged, that's not covered under your regular homeowner's policy.
It's not. That's a very good point, and something that I'm probably going to repeat a couple times throughout the video so that you understand that when you have just most traditional insurance policies will cover up to a certain amount, which is around $1,500 a lot of times. If it's covered at all, you want to check your policy. Please make sure you check your specific policy to see what's covered. And if something happens to that jewelry and you only have a homeowner's policy, it only covers what's covered within the specified things that are covered within your policy. So common things that are covered would be lightning, fire, theft, hurricane, hail, and keep in mind that's just to $1,500 for just for all of it, not just one piece of jewelry. It's for everything. So that brings me into how do you get additional coverage? So there's two ways really to get additional coverage on your policy. So one would be just adding on what we call an endorsement. Sometimes you'll hear it called a floater, or sometimes you'll hear it called, there's one name I'm forgetting. Oh, scheduling. So when you're talking to your agent, you can tell them you want to schedule jewelry or you want to add a floater or an endorsement. So you can add additional coverage that way, but you can also get a separate jewelry policy that covers the jewelry without covering anything else, and it covers a lot of different causes, not just what's in your policy. So even if you add jewelry onto a floater or endorsement, it still only covers the jewelry for what's covered and specified in your policy. If you get a separate jewelry plan, protection plan, if you lose your beautiful new engagement ring, it will still be covered. So, and a lot of times, just so you know, the cost of like a jewelry protection plan is usually like 1 to 2% of the appraised value of that ring. So if you have a $10,000 ring, you're looking at paying $100. So you lose $100 or $10,000.
Bear in mind too that when you do have an appraisal by an accredited gemologist, which is what the insurance companies are looking for, a lot of times they will not accept insurance appraisals written by the store where you bought it,
Okay.
or somebody who doesn't have the accreditation. But once you have that policy, you have that item appraised and scheduled, it covers, as you know, loss, theft, damage, mysterious disappearance, all those with no deductible.
Wow.
I think that's really important to know.
That is important. Very important. So, you need to answer that? No problem.
Excuse me.
No problem. So, like Mr. Steve was saying, I just want you all to keep in mind that the regular homeowner's policy, I want to hone on this point, a regular jewelry policy typically has a limit and covers maybe about $1,500 of jewelry coverage. You can add an endorsement that's worth the amount of the jewelry, or you can get a separate jewelry plan, which will cover it in the event that anything happens. So you really want to consider, if you have some jewels and gems that are of value to you, you would really want to consider adding a floater or an endorsement, or getting a separate jewelry protection plan. So I wanted to go into really the importance of the appraisal. I want to jump into, I know a lot about why you need the appraisal on the insurance side, but what really goes into an appraisal, and why is it so important that people get their jewelry appraised?
A couple reasons. Obviously, one, to get it insured. That's probably the most important, because you cannot get it insured without an appraisal. I think the quality of the appraiser, the quality of the company that you're using is very important. But what the appraisal basically gives you, one, we give you a laminated document with a photograph, with a very, very, very detailed description of the item, which includes, for diamonds, the clarity of the diamond, the color of the diamond, the proportions and measurements of the diamond, description if there's any side stones, description of the metal.
Okay.
And then we use what we call a reasonable independent jeweler replacement cost.
Okay.
In other words, a lot of times you might walk into a store and all the banners say 50% off. Well, I think that 50% off is basically a means of marketing, because typically that tag price was never used as a sale price.
Mm-hmm.
So what we do is use a reasonable retail, or not retail, but a replacement cost.
Okay.
In other words, if you insure this item based on our research, you would be able to replace that item, not replace that item and take a trip to Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore,
Right.
the benefit of that is that your insurance premium is reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no reason that you go into a store, buy a diamond for $10,000, and they give you an appraisal for $20,000. It doesn't make any sense. It's
Right.
not reasonable. So everything we write as far as appraisal purposes is done at reasonable retail replacement cost.
Okay. And you strictly focus on appraisals, or do you also do jewelry?
We offer repairs.
Repairs. Okay.
We offer expert jewelry and watch repairs.
Okay.
So anything that can be done in the way of repairing jewelry, retipping, replacing a diamond, whatever, things like that. Been doing it for 40 years and we'll continue to do it.
Awesome. Yeah, this is the man right here. You can look him up online. He has great reviews, great reviews about customer service, as well as the work that you do.
Thank you.
So that's why I'm really excited to be here, because I have questions. I get questions from clients about adding jewelry and other important items, and we don't often check our policy. You just assume that it's covered, and it's really not. And then when something happens, we're often very heartbroken. And some things, there's a lot of things that are replaceable. Stuff is a lot of times replaceable, but there are certain things that just mean more to you than others, especially jewelry that has maybe been passed down. And I know a lot of, especially I'm talking to you millennials right now, a lot of you are getting items passed down to you, and you're just letting it go in an estate sale, and you have no idea the value of it. So instead of just letting it go, Mr. Steve offers services that, what would you do in that case when somebody has jewelry that's passed down to them?
What we started many years ago is what we call a brokering service, whereby we would take the jewelry, examine it, see if it's something that, in fact, my dealers and brokers that I've known for 30 years would be interested. And what I do is shop that to probably 5 or 6 different dealers, call the client back after a few days from shopping it, and we take a 15% commission if they agree to the sale amount that we're able to get. If they're not interested in that amount and they don't want to do it, we kindly hand them back the jewelry and still remain friends.
Right.
I think one thing's real important. A lot of people are a little hesitant to maybe get appraisals or really don't understand it. One, and the most important thing is, you do not have to leave your jewelry. With an appointment, we can appraise your jewelry while you wait.
Okay.
And while you sit right here in the office.
Okay.
The second thing is that we appraise it as a reasonable cost. So your premiums are reasonable. And the third one is that we offer a very nominal update fee. So 5 years from now or 3 years from now, if your agent says, well, it's been a while, you need to get it reappraised, or you change insurance companies, or you move, we offer a very nominal update fee so you don't have to continually pay for appraisals over and over and over.
Wow, that's a really good service to offer. How often should we be getting something updated, an updated appraisal?
I recommend every 5 years.
Every 5 years. Okay. And when it comes to down to your insurance, it's really important to keep things updated, and that's with any policy you have. But most importantly, since we're talking about the jewelry today, you need to make sure you're looking during this time is a great time to take the opportunity to look at your insurance policy, see what's covered, see how much is covered on jewelry, especially if you have jewelry that's of value to you and you haven't had it appraised. I highly suggest using this time to find your policy or call your agent, or now you can find everything online.
Or call
me, yes. Pull your policy out, or let me pull it out for you. We'll go through it and see how much your jewelry is covered for. And then we need you to get an appraisal from Mr. Steve Silver. Call him and get an appraisal so that you know how much this jewelry is worth. And then we'll go back into the policy, and all we do is literally give them the appraisal documents, because he prepares it in a way that they're going to have everything they need within that appraisal, and get that updated. Because I mean, you're talking about a premium that's probably not that much depending on your jewelry, but it's definitely not going to outweigh the cost of you losing it altogether. And a personal story, when my grandmother passed years ago, when somebody passes away, you have all these things that might be of value. And sometimes if you do not tell your kids or tell your grandkids what is of value, they won't know. So one, I want to encourage you all to have the conversation within your family about what really is of value, especially when it comes to your jewelry. You could be sitting on a gold mine and not even know it.
Good. Just a quick story. I had a couple of young siblings, whatever, that inherited a bunch of jewelry, and they had told me, we're only bringing you the good things, whatever we've already gone through, and pulled out the fashion and costume jewelry that we know you're not. And I said, you know what, honestly, I'm going through the other things anyway. Why don't you just bring everything in and let me check? Well, in the costume jewelry bag or box was an $8,000 gold chain.
Wow.
That they just assumed was just gold plated. So they were quite happy that we were able to find that.
Yeah, I mean, I see this happening a lot, and we are so busy and have so much going on that sometimes when someone passes away, or they get older and they pass the jewelry down to you because they no longer wear it or need it, we often just I've seen people literally give boxes away of things because they just don't want to deal with it. Or like in my case with my family, we just had an estate company. I don't know what you call them. Estate sale company. They came in and literally liquidated the home and everything in it. And who wants to sit and go through everything? But at least now you know that if you see a box of jewels or gems, just get all of those things and, call Steve, and you never know what it might be worth. So instead of just doing a estate sale and letting everything go, or dropping that box off at Goodwill, because I'm guilty of that.
And we honestly get, it's not retail that you're going to get, but we get top dollar.
Yeah.
And I would tell you that probably, 85 to 90% of the items that are brought to us to broker for clients. And that includes, those are divorced that have diamond, engagement rings that's been sitting in a drawer, or jewelry that's broken or whatever. We can help you with all of that. You can go to our website, which is jewelryappraisalservices.com.
Okay.
You can see sample reports. You can see a price list. And we do prefer, obviously, that you call to make an appointment, because this way you won't have to wait, and we can handle you while you're here, and you won't have to leave the jewelry.
You brought up a good point, divorce.
Yes.
It's an unfortunate thing that happens sometimes. And a lot of times we're emotional in those times. So you just say, well, I just don't want it anymore, or you give it away, or you do something else with it. But it's really a great idea to get it appraised.
Yeah, well, I've had instances.
Some people take it to the pawn shop.
They do. They do that, or they just leave it in a drawer. Yeah. And at some point, after they get over the emotional part, they go, I'm going to turn this into money. Or a lot of people will just take the ring and maybe make it into a necklace and wear it around their neck, or reset it, or buy another one and match it up for an earring. I mean, there's tons of things you can do, but you just have to get over that emotional part, whatever. And a diamond is a diamond is a diamond.
Yes. Okay. And so I have some other questions where we're going to dig a little deeper into the appraisal process as well. So you mentioned what goes into the appraisal process, but what should they expect to receive once they've done the appraisal process with you?
Well, you can go online and see sample documents.
Yeah, his website is really good. It has lots of information.
But it's a laminated document as well as a copy. Okay. You can submit the copy to the insurance agent to get a quote. And what I was going to mention also, which was really important, let's just say you actually bring 10 things in to have appraised, and you decide you only want to insure 3 of them after the appraisal report is done. Just because those 10 things are on a document and all appraised, because we number each one, you can submit that report to your agent and say, look, I only want to insure number 1, number 3, number 6. You don't have to insure all those other items. However, if they are ever lost, you have a real detailed description of what you had, as opposed to trying to make up in your mind what you think you might have had.
Yeah.
So that's also good to know.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I always advise clients to take pictures of everything, even outside of jewelry. Take pictures, know what you have. It's very important to know what you have, and to know, I think the Insurance Institute or Information Institute says, know your stuff.
Know your stuff.
Know what you have. And so this is just one step in the process of knowing what's inside your home or your condo or apartment. And it doesn't matter if you're renting or own, or if you own. You can do the same thing with a renter's policy. You can schedule jewelry, or you can also purchase a separate jewelry plan, even if you're renting a home or an apartment as well.
It's interesting. What I hear a lot is I get, that phone call on Monday mornings, usually a couple of messages. Oh my God, we were burglarized over the weekend, and I still have like the few things I had on. Can I make an appointment right away to come in and get them appraised? Well, absolutely. The problem is you've done this after the fact.
Yeah. And
I know it's one of those things that's kind of last on the list, but when something happens, you kind of wish it was first on the list.
So I'm so glad you said that, because that is why I do what I do, because there is a reward for preparing and planning for things. And often we get busy, we accumulate things throughout years, and we have a lot of things of value that we don't even realize we have, or we realize it and haven't taken the proper steps to make sure that it's protected. And so that's why I'm doing this spring cleaning series and talking with you today, because I want people to really think about what you have and to bring out all that jewelry and get it appraised and get it on your insurance so that it's protected. I would hate to see you lose $10,000 over $100, and that $100 is for the year.
Yep, absolutely.
So you brought up a really good point. After, it's just too late. So we don't think it's going to happen to us, or we think we have time to to prepare, but really it's about today. You have to do things today. Don't wait till tomorrow to do it.
Don't forget too that it's not all about just having the ring lost or stolen. Diamonds, even though they're very hard, they can break and chip. And if those things are scheduled, on a separate policy, that chipped diamond is insured and covered. Also, most policies cover repairs. So if you have a ring with multiple diamonds and you lose a couple little diamonds out of it or something, that repair is covered in most scheduled policies.
Okay. That's good to know. Yeah. So it's not just about theft
Right.
or even just losing it. So, okay, that's great information. I do have a couple other questions for you, and a lot of the information that we're talking about is on Steve's site. And can you tell us the website one more time?
www.jewelryappraisalservices.com.
Okay.
Oh, by the way,
Yes.
we're very conveniently located too.
You are.
Which is at Loop 610 in Bel Air in the Frost Bank building.
Okay.
So it's a very secure building. It's not in a strip center or anything or in a warehouse district.
No, it's
whatever.
not.
It's a very, very safe, secure building. We have a safe. We lock things up. It's very secure and confidential. And all, of course, like we talked about before, the brokering and all that, very confidential, strictly between us.
Okay. Yeah, and Steve has great customer service, and it's a very professional It's a professional building where you're coming to meet him. So there is no concerns at all about security. There's actually even secured parking, covered parking. So, and we are in Houston for those of you who are watching us from other places. Do people in other states have the opportunity to work with you as well?
Sure. We also offer on our website, there are those that may live in a small town somewhere that need appraisals done as well. There are instructions on the website how to send jewelry in to have the appraisals done. Usually can be turned around in just 2 or 3 days.
Okay.
What we do once we've received the box, whatever, we call the client, tell them what we received, tell them exactly what the cost will be, get a credit card over the phone, and return it registered mail within a few days. So you don't have to live in Bel Air or Houston.
Right.
Or, we have clients drive from Cypress and Pearland and Woodlands and Conroe, and we have clients come from all over because what we do is very specialized. And there's not a lot of people that do it. A lot of jewelry stores don't offer this service, or they say, well, somebody comes in, every quarter or whatever. No, we're here 24/7 for you. So we're make it as convenient as possible.
Awesome. So I had a couple questions that I wanted to ask you, and a lot of this information is on the website as well. How much should people expect to pay for an appraisal?
Our appraisal fees start at $75 per item.
That's it?
That's it. And for diamonds, we charge $100 per carat, starting at 1 carat. So if you have a 2 carat diamond, it'd be $200 for the report.
Okay.
But let's just say you have 10 items and your appraisal comes to $600. In 5 years, when you need an update, those 5 or 6 items are going to cost you an update fee of $50 for all of them.
Wow.
So that's what I talked about, that you don't have to continually pay for the appraisals as long as we've done them previously. The only thing we ask is that you bring them in and we verify that they're still in the same condition, that you still have them. Okay. And for $50, you get all 5 or 6 of those items updated.
You spend $50 eating out.
Yeah. For lunch.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And then I always have wine too. So I mean,
it's $55.
Exactly. The other question I have for you is, there's a lot of people, especially the millennials out there, are getting married and purchasing engagement rings. Is there any advice you would give someone that's purchasing new jewelry right now?
Well, we offer a consultation service where, you've looked at a few things and you want to discuss and talk about, what you're looking at, see if you think it's reasonable, whatever. Can't do it over the phone because we obviously have to charge for it. But if you want to come in and talk about it in person with an appointment, we can do that. Okay. The most important thing is that you buy a diamond that has some sort of gemological report with it. I'm not a big fan of buying online.
Okay.
Because you can't see it. And I think you need to develop a relationship with a jeweler just like you develop a relationship with a lawyer or a doctor. It's very important.
That is.
And or an insurance agent.
That's a good point. And when I first got out of college at Texas A&M University.
Sorry. Welcome.
Okay, now I'm an Aggie, but that's okay. When I first got out of college, they told me, make sure you make good relationships, have good relationships with people that you can actually utilize their services. Mm-hmm. And I have really found it to be helpful. And I have friends who call me when they need something. They can call me 24/7 because they have a relationship with me. When they're in an accident, I'm going to answer and I'm going to care. And not that, just if you go pick an agent from online, it's not that they don't care. It's just that they don't know you. So how do you expect them to be so available for you? So you need to build these relationships, and it's important to build relationships with all the people that you mentioned.
Sure. When you
And
think
we need to
about
add
it,
jewelry.
when you think about it, if you sitting in your underwear in the kitchen, whatever, you buy a diamond online and it gets sent to you the next day, and you take it into, the nice jewelry store in your neighborhood, whatever,
Mhm.
and you ask them to set somebody else's diamond, they're not really
Mm.
happy about it. They don't really
No.
want to take the risk.
No.
They may charge you an arm and a leg. So I think that you'll find today that
Relationships,
most
okay.
brick and mortar stores and family-owned jewelry stores will actually be as competitive, if not more competitive,
Mhm.
than those things you see online. And hopefully you can make a choice between several things and get a very good education instead of trying to educate yourself.
Yep, that's a good point. And you don't have to know everything. You just have to know people who know everything.
That's it. People know
So
people.
yes, and he's the person to know when it comes to jewelry appraisals.
Thanks.
I'm definitely going to be calling you. So overall,
Oh, please tell them your
yes,
phone number or
yeah,
your email
I
address.
will. So again, I'm Camille Hicks with C Hicks Agency, and you can find me online at chicksinsurance.com. And my email is camille@chicksinsurance.com. You can also call me or text me at 281-549-5264. And we typically answer around the clock. So it's very rare that you get a voicemail. And if you do, we'll call right back. So feel free to reach out to us as well. So overall, I just want to recap on a couple key points, and that is knowing what you have and getting an appraisal on the things that you do have, and then taking that appraisal and updating it to your insurance policy or purchasing a separate jewelry protection plan, because just doing these three simple steps can save you a lot of heartache and a lot of money. So, and that's what we're here for, is to help you. And I'm trying to protect you from losing things that might be, well, I can't protect you from losing things, but I can help lighten the load and what comes with um, theft and losing something that's important to you. When you have a way to replace it, it makes it so much better than just being out of that money.
Just be ahead of the game.
Yes.
You've
That's
been,
a good
you've
way
been,
to
you've
sum it
been,
up.
you've been warned.
Yeah, you have. You have been warned. So, did you have anything else to add before I
No,
wrap
let me
up?
just give you my phone number in case
Okay,
you'd like to
please
call and
do,
make an
please do.
appointment. The phone number at the office is 713-622-9070, or feel free to email me at steve@jewelryappraisalservices.com. And I'd like to thank Camille for giving me the opportunity to put the word out.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing all the great information with us, and thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
All right. So I know a lot of you all have joined and you asked questions possibly. Feel free to keep asking questions. I see some people still joining. We will go back in and answer the questions through Facebook, Instagram, or you can email us or on YouTube. So please don't, just because the video stops, do not stop asking your questions. You can go ahead and put them in the comment section.
Information is free, right?
It is.
All right.
And the knowledge is power.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. Y'all have a great day.
How'd we do?
We did great.